Okay, welcome back. Chapter 25, Quiz A, question number 2. I have provided the prompt at the beginning of Quiz A for question 1. It's the same prompt that we're going to use for question 2. And here's the data that was collected. We all should have the differences, these numbers right here, -3, -3, -2, etc., and list 1 in our calculator. So let's take a look at question number 2. Create and interpret a 90% confidence interval. So again, let's take a look at a 90% confidence interval. What would that look like under the curve? Well, let's see. Our curve would look like this. This is our interval, 90%. We would have 5% to the left of that interval and 5% of the area under the curve to the right of that interval. So we need to find the critical t-value that would have the critical t-value for 15 degrees of freedom for the area under the curve of 95%, because when we look at this curve, if we started here and we went all the way to here, we'd have this 90 plus 5, so that would be 95% of the curve. Okay, so we know that this is an inverse t function, and if we plug into our calculator, we get inverse t of 0.95, comma, 15 degrees of freedom, always with the t-score, equals 1.75. Okay, so the critical t-score, or the critical t-value for 0.95 with 15 degrees of freedom would be 1.75. That would be our t-value. And we know that we need a critical t-value in order to interpret a confidence interval. So let's take a look at our confidence interval formulas. According to the AP Statistics formula sheet, a confidence interval could be found by statistic plus or minus critical value times the standard deviation of the statistic. Well, we already found the statistic in prompt 1. We know our mean of the differences was -1.125. We just found the critical value over here. This is our critical value, 1.75. And we also found the standard deviation of the statistic, which was 0.287. So we're going to plug it in. And just a reminder, before we were given the AP Stats formula sheet, we used to say that the confidence interval is estimate plus or minus the margin of error. Okay? So here is our mean of the differences. It was -1.125 plus or minus our critical t-value times the standard deviation of the statistics. And just a reminder, we found these two values up in prompt 1. Okay? Then we get -1.125 plus or minus 0.502. And that gives us a confidence interval of -1.627 to -0.623. And what does that mean? It means that we're 90% confident that taking AP Statistics will decrease a student's anxiety between 0.6 and 1.6 points on our scale. Obviously, we created the study, so therefore the scale was ours as well. So again, let me state that conclusion. I said confusion, I meant conclusion. You know what happens. We are 90% confident that taking AP Statistics will decrease a student's anxiety between 0.6 and 1.6 points on our scale. Okay, so this concludes Chapter 25, Quiz A, questions 1 and 2. Please make sure you complete the review for Part 6 test. Part 6 test will be on the Monday when you return from April vacation. Please enjoy your vacation and play safely.